In our legal segment today, the folks from the Higgins Firm are talking about some nursing homes and their use of oppressive arbitration agreements. Attorney Jim Higgins with the Higgins Firm recently stopped by to talk about the proposed Centers for Medicare rule and why it's so important. Jim, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about this rule. What is the latest and why is it important?
All right. Well, the latest is the Center for Medicare is putting in a rule that will put certain protections for people when they're going to a nursing home about arbitration agreements. Right now, when you put someone in a nursing home, the last thing you're worried about is a lawsuit down the road. And so you're handed a stack of papers normally, and it may be healthcare powers of attorneys, things like that. And normally in the middle of that stack is what we call a pre-dispute arbitration agreement. And it covers anything. And so if your loved one is neglected or abused, and you find out about it years down the road, that nursing home is going to pull out the agreement and say, you don't have a right to go to trial. You've got to arbitrate this. And it's become a real big problem. Things happen in secret. It can be very expensive. The verdicts or judgments in arbitration are generally about 35% less statistically for what you would get at a trial. And it just denies that person their day in court before anything's happened.
Wow.
So what the Medicare services are going to do is they say, hey, if you do an arbitration agreement, when you're checking someone in a nursing home, one, it can't be dependent. You can't say you're not coming in our home unless you sign this. And you've got to explain it to that person. So they've just finished the review period, and hopefully this will pass because it's something that you probably will never have to worry about. But if you do, it is disheartening to come into our office with a nursing home neglect case and us have to explain that we first got to fight about this arbitration agreement.
Absolutely. And I know your office handles a lot of nursing home cases. Is this issue something you see in the cases you all have handled?
Constantly. Every week we have this battle. And so a lot of times we'll find arbitration agreements that aren't valid. We will fight those agreements because we think it's important. Part of what our families are doing when they're bringing in a nursing home case is it's not only to have a say about what happened to their loved one, but we don't want it to happen again. So it's important for a lot of these things to be public. And to be public, it needs to be in a courtroom. A lawsuit is filed. All that is public, and I think that's important. There's a shroud of secrecy between or in arbitrations, and that's disheartening to me. I think if you call someone out, if you put sunlight on it, hopefully that behavior will change, and the next person who's being cared for in that nursing home won't have to worry so much about being a neglect or abuse claim.
Okay, now we're almost out of time, but I do want to mention, if someone suspects neglect, when should they call you, and how do they know if they signed an arbitration agreement?
Well, they call us immediately. They don't always need lawyers, but we talk to a lot of people all the time. I don't mind talking to people. We can send them in the right direction. If they do have a nursing home neglect case and we decide to take that case, then we'll find out about the arbitration agreement and we'll deal with that for them.
All right, Jim, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great information. Hey, the Higgins Firm is serving Tennessee. Give them a call. The number's right there on your screen. That's 1-800-705-2121. Or check out their website. That's thehigginsfirm.com.